playWolves electrify Minnesota, 0-57. The crowd in Minnesota loves what they see on the court, as the Wolves take down the Rockets for the franchise's first playoff win since 2004. 0-57, 1:30 a.m. ETMINNEAPOLIS. Jimmy Butler bluntly states that nobody cares if he's nicked up, a term he picked up from coach Tom Thibodeau to downplay the significance of injuries. Butler isn't complaining, just telling it like it is, knowing that sympathy isn't available during the NBA playoffs. It doesn't matter if he's less than 2 months removed from surgery to repair the meniscus in his right knee, or that he's dealing with a sore shooting wrist, an injury he refuses to acknowledge but that league sources say he suffered during his 31-point performance in the Minnesota Timberwolves winner-go-home regular season finale. And Butler is pretending that nasty twist of his left ankle late in the first half of Saturday's Game 3 didn't happen. The Timberwolves traded for Butler, reuniting him with Thibodeau, because they had waited way too long since tasting playoff success. They plan to pair him with blossoming superstar big man Karl-Anthony Towns to form the foundation of an instant winner. But Butler and Towns no-showed in the Timberwolves' first 2 playoff games since Kevin Garnett's prime, as Minnesota fell in a 0-2 hole to the top-seeded Houston Rockets. Better late than never, though. The Timberwolves' 2 All-Stars finally arrived for Game 3, and suddenly it's a series after Minnesota's 121-105 victory at the rocking Target Center. I can tell you that over the last couple of days I got tired of my teammates telling me to be more aggressive, Butler said after his 28-point, 7-rebound, 5-assist performance in the Timberwolves' first playoff win since Game 5 of the 2004 Western Conference Finals. So I took it upon myself to do just that. Karl-Anthony Towns and Jimmy Butler, center, were all-stars this season, and they reminded the Rockets of their ceiling in a Game 3 win at Minnesota. David Sherman, NBA, Getty. Butler set the tone for the Timberwolves, coming out in attack mode, a stark contrast to his uncharacteristically passive play while attempting a total of only 17 shots in the first 2 games of this series. He had 11 points on 5 of 8 shooting by the end of the first quarter on Saturday, nearly matching his average of 12 points in the 2 games in Houston, breathing fire into a home crowd that showed up hoping for a reason to believe he's the heart and soul, said Timberwolves point guard Jeff Teague, who had 23 points and 8 assists, outplaying counterpart Chris Paul. When he's out there competing, it rubs off on everybody. Play Jimmy Butler breaks down how the Timberwolves were able to beat the Rockets in Game 3 and what the veteran core has meant to the team. It took Towns, the primary focal point of the Rockets' defensive scheme all series, a little while longer to finally make his presence felt in the series. Houston continued double-teaming Towns almost every time he touched the ball in the paint, a strategy that factored into the 22-year-old scoring in single digits in his first 2 playoff games. Here's how ridiculously rare that was. It hadn't happened with a player who averaged 20-plus points per game in the regular season since 1979. Towns didn't even attempt a shot Saturday until the 10:46 mark of the second quarter, when he let out a primal roar after dunking over Rockets center Clint Capella. Towns got in his first real groove of the postseason during the third quarter, scoring 8 points, which matched his better game in Houston. "I'm just letting the game come to me naturally, instead of trying to rush and find shots," Towns said. "And then shots find me." It's not that. Towns, who finished with 18 points on 5 of 13 shooting, was spectacular. That's still an off night by his standards. But he was an offensive factor, a first for him in the playoffs. In addition to grabbing 16 rebounds and blocking 2 shots, his activity was terrific, Thibodeau said, which was the opposite of his public opinion of Towns' first 2 playoff outings. Play James Harden and Chris Paul share their irritation with a question of their defensive strategy. It's not as if Butler and Towns didn't get a lot of help. But the help hasn't been the problem. Andrew Wiggins, the distant third member of Minnesota's Big Three, has been the Timberwolves' best player in the series. He was great again in Game 3, scoring 20 efficient points, 7 of 11 shooting, and recording 5 rebounds and 5 assists. Derrick Rose, the injury-prone former league MVP who reunited with Thibodeau as a castaway hoping to resuscitate his career, is making his old coach look wise by providing offensive punch off the bench in the playoffs. He had 17 points in 21 minutes on Saturday. Teague was terrific, hurting Houston with his perimeter shooting and penetration. The Rockets seemed on the verge of mounting a serious rally, having sliced the deficit from 19 points to 9, when Teague made the biggest play of the game, an and-one floater with 6:29 remaining. Butler followed that with a 3, then stripped MVP frontrunner James Harden and fed Teague for another 3, and the rout was on again. "They played with a little bit more emotion than we had, a little harder," Rockets coach Mike D'Antoni said. Especially in big moments, they came up with a stop or a score or something. We didn't battle enough to overcome the crowd and emotion that they had. Give them their due, but we need to play a little bit better and harder. Play Karl-Anthony Towns looks to the crowd to search for James Harden's airballs in Game 3. D'Antoni vowed that the Rockets, who haven't found their normal offensive rhythm yet in this series, would make some adjustments after an embarrassing defensive performance. The Timberwolves shot 50% from the floor and were 15 of 27 from three-point range, making as many threes as the Rockets in 14 fewer attempts. But D'Antoni also warned that the Rockets would head back to Houston with the series deadlocked if they don't match the Timberwolves' intensity in Monday's Game 4. That would guarantee a Game 6 back at the Target Center, where Timberwolves fans hope they can get used to seeing playoff basketball again. This city, Butler said, deserves to be in the playoffs a little bit longer. For that to happen, the Timberwolves All-Stars have to do their part again.